the call centers we tracked before I built this, because I first looked at them because I thought if somebody's figured this out, then I'm not going to invent it, right? I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So the average call center schedules for fee-for-service patients, because that's the hardest one in my mind to schedule
Mm-hmm.
if you're out of network, 17 to 24% of the time. So it's actually worse than the average for the team nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
And they also miss a significant amount of new patient phone calls. They don't answer either, okay? Which is surprising because that's their job. So Golden Goose, not only do we help them answer all of their new patient calls, my team is averaging over 90% conversions with the highest share rate in the industry.
Wow. So are offices just not like staffing like enough staff to answer the phone calls? Are they shutting down during lunch? Are they not open certain days? Like what do you see the issues going on out there? Why these phone calls are getting missed?
Yeah, so the first question we usually get asked by doctors is, are you open 24/7? Do you have 24/7 coverage? And the answer is no, we do not. Because they think that they're missing new patient calls when they're not open. When the reality is they're missing 99.9% of their new patient calls while they're open, not even during lunch. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's usually, there are some peak times. So if you want to just talk about general tracking data, most people miss their calls right when they first open, the first half hour, because that's when everybody's calling to flood in because they know they're open. During their lunch hour, which is usually 1 to 2, but that's when most patients get back from their lunch hour, which was 12 to 1. And they want to make that call before they get into work, kind of thing, or get back to it. And it's at the end of the day, okay, or kind of your peak times. And then it's just a matter of how distracted they are. Do you miss them at other end times throughout the day? So we try to make sure we cover, 7 to 7, West Coast to East Coast, Monday through Friday. So if you're open and during those hours, then we're going to be covering for those hours for you. And I think it's a lot of times it's capacity. Yeah, maybe they only got one person at the front when they need two. And as soon as that one person goes to present treatment, there's nobody there. It's ghost town. Maybe it is during lunch. Maybe it's you got 2 people and you really need 3 because there's just too many things we ask the front desk to do. And they're just, maybe they're on hold with an insurance company for 20 minutes. And the other person is tied up checking somebody out. What are you going to do? Phone's ringing, but you got somebody standing in front of you. You don't want to be rude to them. So our team runs into this conflict more often than not. That's why at a minimum, I absolutely recommend you got to have somebody's backup no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going to lose the opportunity. A new patient is not going to call you back if you don't answer. They're going to call the next place. So
now those peak times you just mentioned, has that changed post-COVID? Because a lot of people now are working from home and they're more available throughout the day.
Yeah, it definitely has shifted. I really haven't seen a definitive pattern. It's now throughout the entire day.
Mm-hmm.
But I think most offices, what they're running into is a capacity issue where they had 3 team members at the front, 3 team members before COVID. Now they got 1 post-COVID,
Right.
or now they're down to 2, or somebody's there part-time, or somebody has a scare at the office and the other ones are afraid and they stay home for a couple of days. So I think more because of COVID, it's a capacity issue.
Now, how does it work with Golden Goose and, my practice and our philosophy, our patient pool? Because we may be very different than a practice in like New York City. Do you work have a consultation with me and kind of discuss our philosophy and how we schedule, and then you kind of become I guess I saw you say an extension of our team. So is it customized per each office and how the phones are answered?
It is. Now, the sequence in which we do things, like we try to build liking, we try to connect with that person, we try to present you as the authority, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're gonna ask questions like, how many years in practice have you been? Do you have any awards? Can you send us some testimonials from patients? So my team is going to be building you up as the expert, so to speak. Okay. So, there's a sequence we follow in scheduling that won't change. So that sequence is used for 80% of our clients. What changes, that 20% is all customizable. It's what are your authority things, right? Maybe we're going to find out what connections that potential new patients might have with you or your team members, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can start building that liking on your behalf. If you have nuances like certain times of the day you schedule, or we only put cosmetics over here and we block out this time for this, then yeah, we totally customize it for what your system is. So my team is going to take the time to learn how you want things scheduled. Okay, and we're going to do everything we can to fit that into our sequence.
What about the types of procedures I do, or For example, we just over the last year or two, we hired an endodontist and a periodontist. So we're doing more procedures now, but before we used to refer out root canals and perio. Um, or are you from, I guess, from a new patient phone call, you're trying to funnel that patient to just even show up just to the office for a consultation first, before you make any, assumptions over the phone on what they actually need. So I guess the real key is just getting that patient in the chair for an initial consultation, right?
Yeah, we're not trying to diagnose over the telephone.
Yeah.
That would takes up too much time anyway. They're calling for a reason. So we're trying to get to the heart of establish a connection, let them know, decrease their uncertainty about why you're the expert in whatever the area is and why you're the best office for them to be calling. Show them some social proof that, hey, they're not the only one. Hundreds of people have been calling this month alone, right? Look at all these testimonials they have about nice things people have said about our office. We think you're going to have a good experience here too. Now let's get you an appointment. And once you're in, they'll talk to you about whatever you need and they'll figure it out.
Right. The key is just getting them in. Now, call tracker ROI. Before I jump into that, has Golden Goose, or have you seen a change in the trend as far as scheduling? Are people more, I don't personally like talking on the phone. I try to do anything I can to avoid talking on the phone. I'd so much rather text or email. Are you seeing more online scheduling through text or email? And does Golden Goose provide that as well?
Yeah, so there's a significant uptake of people booking online, trying to schedule through a chat box feature from your website. Not so much via text because most offices aren't using text as much as they should nationwide. But our team, an online platform is easy. Nobody has to mess with that. It's just built in.
Yep.
There's several good ones out there. But from a chat standpoint, we do monitor chats for offices and we'll schedule from their chats for them. So what I'm recommending to people is, let's go back to why can't we answer the new patient phone call? What's one of the big reasons why we can't answer them? And the reason is because for every one new patient call trying to get through your pipeline, you got 3 existing patients trying to call at the same time to make their appointment. And if nobody answers, they just keep calling and they keep calling and they keep calling. So it just ties up the pipeline. So what I try to recommend for offices is use an online scheduling tool and try to get your existing patients scheduling that way online to decrease the call volume coming through. So now new patient calls can actually get through, because some patients that are new do want to schedule the online. And I'm okay for certain procedures, but it's that one that comes in for the hour cleaning and they got perio and you're like, crap, right? So I really like online for existings. New, I want to talk to them either in chat or on the phone call. I'm still going to have it available for a couple of spots just to, because some people only want to do online. But we don't see a problem with people picking up the phone and calling still. Not new, anyway. Not new.
Yep. So onto call tracker ROI. The phone is so important in the phone could be the most important piece of equipment in the dental office. You could have that, that $100,000 laser, that CAD/CAM milling machine, or you just took a new full reconstruction course. But if you're not converting patients from that phone and you're not getting them in the chair, then those, not only are they worthless, those expensive machines are costing you money. So you got to get the patient in the chair. So I think, if you can't measure it, then you don't know if it's successful. So it seems like with call tracker ROI, it's all about data and knowing if a specific, marketing tool is working, but also if your front desk is actually converting that patient. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I always say you don't know what you don't know. Okay. And that was my problem, right? I was just writing a check and assuming that the patients were going to end up in my chair. And when I was way overspending and that wasn't happening, only then did I get curious. I had feelings about why it was happening, but I didn't know. Okay. And I really couldn't trust the marketing companies to give me an accurate answer either, right? Because it's really not human nature to shoot yourself in the foot. Just like I couldn't trust my team to give me accurate data about how they're performing. Name a time when a team member's ever come up to you and say, hey, doc, hey, sorry, last month I didn't answer 20 new patient calls and I didn't schedule about 14 of them for you either, so my bad. Does that ever happen? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not in human nature to shoot yourself in the foot. So I realized I couldn't trust either party to give me the data I needed, but I still needed the data. And I didn't have the time to get it myself. So I needed somebody to get it for me. Once I got it, like I said, I didn't care what it was. I just needed to know what it was because then I could figure out the answer to the problem. And the impact was significant. That office, that Cold Start office, went from doing 35,000 a month every month for 10 months. As soon as I fixed the telephone, okay, and I stepped in and took it over and started talking to people and communicating, we went from 35,000 a month to 110,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
like that. Okay, overnight. So where my previous associate kept telling me it's the economy, it's the patients, it's the team, that was the problem. It was not the problem. It was, let's get more people and let's actually talk to them in a way that they want to communicate and they understand what you're actually telling them. And then suddenly things happen. So,
It's not like you fixed, the compressor that went down. You just fixed, the phone, how staff is talking on the phone. So are you recording calls and listening back to them? Is that what your team does, and kind of figure out, where a staff member is getting stuck, or if they're kind of talking a patient out of scheduling? How does that work?
yeah, so my team listens to every call for you and you get a detailed report on what happened in those calls. And you can filter the report weekly. I tend to like look at it monthly. And then I have an accountability meeting with my team to review the data. Say, so let's see how you did last month. Because it's like anything else. You shine a light on it, suddenly people are going to pay attention. So if they
Mm-hmm.
know you're going to be meeting with them every week, just having that monthly meeting with my own team to just review the data. I didn't even even go over phone language yet. Took them from 24% to 60% just for the accountability piece, right?
Yeah.
And then it was just more identifying. So we try to categorize what I feel the most important section is: why didn't you make the phone call? Those are the only ones I care about, the ones we didn't get, and why. So we categorize them for you. Was it an insurance issue? The insurance question? Was it they have an insurance you don't take? Was it a price shopper? Was it a service that you don't provide? Like, they wanted implants and you don't do implants. They wanted wisdom teeth out, you don't do wisdom teeth. Was it a capacity issue? They wanted to get in at a specific day and time and you couldn't get them in.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of those things the team can control. We can influence price shoppers to come in, okay? And I can get a lot of them. They could be great quality patients. I can influence the insurance issue question. I can't help the capacity issue. My team can't help that, right? They can't help the services not offered thing. So what I'm really trying to get to the heart of is, out of these calls we didn't schedule, is there something really within our power we could have done differently? And again, it's going to tell me one way or the other. Let's say it's capacity, because that happened in one of my offices. So we weren't open on Fridays at that offices, and I was missing out on 34 new patient calls a month from people who wanted to get in on Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
So it was real easy at that point to let the data justify my next expense, which was what? Paying the team to be there on Fridays, and I hired a dentist to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I started it, and then until I could find somebody to work it for me.
Right.
I'm like, if I'm missing out, if 34 people want to come here every Friday, every month on Fridays, and I could be open, why the hell am I not? Let's do it.
So you're following the data. You're just going where the data is telling you to go. And how do you get to know the staff of my office? How do you know which staff member? Are they first they're trained to say their name? Oh, hi, this is Stephanie from Dr. Block's office. And from there, you can kind of, I guess, create different KPIs for that staff member to see who needs help and who's just not converting. And also, how do you get the staff on board with all of this? Because some may be intimidated with the fact that you're recording phone calls and may get, I brought this up a few years ago, and they were, one staff member was like insulted that I even brought this up. Like, oh, what are you looking for? You're looking to find a problem.
Yep. And that is human nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's normal for them. And in fact, if they didn't freak out, I'd be concerned because they automatically, most people have a scarcity mindset and they automatically go to the worst case scenario. You're using this to fire me, is what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that's what the barrier was going to be. So I had to shape my presentation around that barrier, not hide from it. So I had to start with it. So I said, hey guys, look, now just so you know, I'm spending $36,000 a month in marketing, and we're only getting 60 patients for our efforts, 30 at this office and 30 at the other. How many of you think that's a good thing? Oh, no one. Okay. So does everyone agree that I'm way overspending for marketing, that there's a problem? Okay. Everybody agrees. So who agrees that I should probably dig into this and figure out why? Oh, good. Everybody agrees I should probably figure out why. Okay. Well, guess what? To do that, here's what I got to do. The answer's in the telephone calls. Mm-hmm. So I got to know. So I'm recording, moving forward, I'm going to be recording these calls. Now I know what you're thinking. You think I'm going to use this to fire you. And that is not what I'm going to be doing. I said, I don't care if you guys have the worst conversions ever. If you're 10%, so out of 10 people that call, you only get one scheduled. I don't care. What I care about is the data. I need to know. I'm just trying to find out, is there a problem and is there not? And if there is, with that problem, is there something we can change? Can I give you the tools? Because I put the onus back on me. I said, and I pointed out to one team member, I was like, Shelly, if you next month, I figure out you had 20% conversions, okay? Whose fault is that? Is that your fault or is it my fault? And I didn't let her answer. I said, it's my fault. Mm-hmm. Because I just assume it's just this easy thing to sit at the front desk and just get them in. But the more I look at this, the more I realize it is not as easy as I thought it was. And in fact, I'm realizing I did you guys a disservice. I just put you up there with no training and said, good luck. Hopefully it all works out. Mm-hmm. So if the data is bad, it's not on you, it's on me. Okay. And I'm going to see if there is something I can do to change the outcome and give you guys the tools to be successful. I want to do that. I want to help you do better in your job. Is that okay? Okay, good. Let's try it out and see. And again, all I did was, even that first month when I got the data, 24%, I was like, oh God. But I couldn't go in yelling at them. I had to focus on the positive. All right, well, It's not as good as I wanted, but here's some good things that did come out of that.
Yeah.
Now let's look at these calls we didn't schedule. Okay, this pile, we really couldn't have done anything about. It's capacity. We weren't open those hours, whatever. They're asking about stuff we don't do. That's fine. But these ones here, let's talk about that. Reading this call now, because we give you a transcript of the call, and then you can also download a recording, which is next to it. But people don't like to hear themselves, but they don't mind reading what they said. Okay. And I'll say, reading this out loud now, Shelly, is there anything you can think of on how you could have changed the outcome? And just ask honestly. And they'll say, and she'd be like, no, I don't think of anything. Okay. Does anybody else in the group, because I always do it as a team effort, does anybody else have any ideas on what she could have said differently? Oh, maybe she could have said this. Maybe she could have said that. Okay, great. Let's try that next time. Here's what I think you could do. Let's try that next time, see what happens. All right, let's move on. So I always started with the positive and then gave in some ideas like, is there anything you can think of? Is there anything else anybody else can think of? Here's what I think you could do. Let's try that and see what happens. And then over time, I was able to narrow in my phone training, which is what I have today, to dial in specifically on how do you overcome these barriers. Because half the time it's the team putting up the barrier to schedule the patient, but the other half it's the patient putting up the barrier. Mm-hmm. So after listening to thousands of calls, I finally figured that out and created some strategies to help teams get to that point faster than having to do the trial and error thing like I did every month.
How long does it take? And I like the fact that you're putting it back on yourself, as a leader, that you didn't put the staff in the best position to succeed. And then you're also getting them on board as to here's a way where we can fix our new patient issue or converting the new patients as a team. I was going to ask you whether you do this one-on-one or as a group, and you said you did it as a group. So you're kind of getting everyone together as a team and using it as like a learning experience. So, okay, you said this, well, let's learn on that and let's fix it and move on from there. How long, and I'm sure every staff member is different, but how long until you really start to see things clicking on all cylinders?
Well, sometimes you can cheat. In this case, that's exactly what I did. So I noticed when I looked at my data, not only do I look at office conversions, I look at individual team performance conversions. And I noticed Shelly is 84% conversions on the telephone, but the other two are like 15 and 24%. But the problem was before the other girls were answering 80% of the phone calls and Shelly's only getting 1%. Yep. So guess what the first thing I did the next month was? Who was first in line to answer? Shelly. Automatically, you put your best person forward and take the bulk of the calls, boom, they go up.
Yeah.
And then that gave me time to work with the others and get them to where they needed to go. So I didn't have to suffer in the short term, right? But again, knowing the data, I could do that. Now, with most people, it usually takes about no more than 3 months. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you go over, so what I normally do is have that monthly meeting with them to go over their data. I do that for the first month. So a month after we start tracking it, let's have our accountability meeting. Let's see what's going on. And then I'll say, try it out. Let's see how you do. So at the next month, did it improve? Okay. If it did, then we just keep going. If there's no improvement, then I put them through like a self-study. I've got like a presentation they can read through with strategies and stuff on there. And I say, read through this and try to implement some of these things. And let's see how you do. So I try to give them a chance to take ownership of it, read the language and the strategies that need to be telling people, and then see if they can implement it themselves. If no improvement again after the next month, then I make them watch the training video when I've got like a 2.5 hour training video for team members.
Is this all part of the onboarding process through Call Tracker? Do you have a system for onboarding?
Yes, I've got this all documented step by step on how to get them over 80% consistently. And it's free. I don't charge for the training. Okay. So you get the presentation, you get the video, it's all included. But it takes time, and it takes that monthly meeting with them to keep them on track. And as long as they're making progress, you don't have to go to the next step. You give them time to keep progressing. But if they're having troubles, then you keep adding the next layers until you find what clicks for them. So sometimes it could be, by 3 months, they're just getting into the video. It usually rarely takes people more than 4 months especially after watching the video, to get them where they need to go. And if for whatever reason, I've done everything I can to influence them to change and do things differently on the phone. And it's not a capacity issue. It's not it's really things they could have said differently is the problem. Then that just tells me I need to put this person in a different seat on the bus. Still not going to fire them. There's still 1,000 other things they could be doing that maybe they're better at. But now I know who's not going to be the first to answer the phone.
And I imagine sometimes this could be a surprise where you think you have one front desk who you think is the assassin and who's just closing every call, and you go back to the data and the transcripts and you find out that may not be the case.
My number one treatment coordinator, right? She's a lady that could sell ice to an Eskimo. Okay. And she was the one I had on the telephones. And I'd do a radio ad and I'd say, Shelly, how do we do? She goes, yeah, we got a couple calls. I'm like, damn, a couple of calls? Man, that thing's like 14,000 a month. I wanted more than 2 calls. Well, when I looked at her data, I mean, she's a closer, like personality wise, profile wise. And when I looked at her call data, she got 20 calls from the radio. Didn't answer 12 of them and only booked 2 of the 8 that she talked to. So yeah, we got a couple calls. Yeah, it doesn't always match up. So that's why you can't go by feeling. You got to go by the data.
The data. Now, do you have a dashboard? I'm a sucker for a dashboard. Can I look at the reports on my phone, or is it just through desktop, or?
Any way you want. You can. There's a link that comes to you monthly, and you click on the link through any device you want, and it's a live report. Okay, and you can change the dates and look at different time frames, several months if you want. Download the calls to your phone if you want, or you can log into your dashboard and it's all there too. But most of my clients just get the email and they don't want to go looking for it. It's like right there.
Yeah. One of the biggest words or phrases that drives me nuts is when I hear someone on the phone that slips and said, "Oh, we don't take that insurance." That one drives me nuts. You're automatically, you've already said no to that patient, and you're digging yourself out of a hole. So it should be more phrased in a way that we do take your insurance, or we do accept your insurance as an out-of-network provider. Correct? Is that the more proper way to phrase that?
Yeah, I talk about it in the telephone training, but you have to really listen to what the patient is saying, because what the team hears is completely different. Okay, so if the patient who asks, "Do you take or accept my insurance?" right, is totally different than the person who says, "Are you in network with or do you participate with my insurance?" Those are 2 very different people. Okay, so for somebody who says, "Are you in network with or participate with?" then that's somebody who understands what their insurance is. And we're going to tell them, no, the way your insurance works in our offices, it doesn't work. So we're out of network with that insurance, but we still have hundreds of patients just like you with that insurance that choose us anyway.
Hmm.
You called us for a reason, didn't you? We did. Okay, great. Would you still like to make an appointment? What works best for you? And so those people, you're not going to have the highest conversion rates on, right? Because they got a mindset that they have to find somebody in network. But I still want to give them, use social proof and say, we got hundreds that schedule anyway, just like you. And you're going to get about a third to schedule, but 2/3 will not. But I'm okay with that. And I invite them to come back. If they say, no, I really need to find somebody in network. Hey, totally makes sense. But I tell you what, if you're not happy with your experience at the office that is in your network, or maybe you can't find somebody, just know you're always welcome back here. Right? So invite them to come back. And we've actually got several calls back and come in and pay our fee. Okay. Now the other one, take or accept, those people really have no idea what their insurance is or what it means. Not really.
Hmm.
But that's not what the team hears. Okay. So there's a total different set of strategies I follow and a back end system to make sure that that person never has a bad experience or blows up in your office. Because that's really what the team's afraid of. They're afraid of getting yelled at, or maybe they've gotten yelled at. But
Hmm.
really, that's because there were two key protective mechanisms that were not in place. So cover that, you never have an issue. Now with these people who say take or accept my insurance, you got over an 80% chance to schedule them, and they'll be great patients.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So this will be a good segue into the membership plan. I read your book, and you were nice enough to email me and help me with my membership plan, which we started in our office a few years ago, which has been a great success. And I, can't imagine us not having one in our office because insurance can be such a barrier, or a patient with the lack of insurance, whether they retired, they lost their job, or they're a small business and they just don't have insurance. Insurance can be such a barrier. So offering something like a membership plan creates that loyalty, gets them, in the office, and they getting a discount. So that's been a game changer in our office.
oh yeah, and it was building momentum to the point that it's on the leading edge of dentistry. So I see more dentists than ever are seeing the value of a membership plan and are creating one for their office. So we were already going down that path because the problem with dental insurance is it's a race we cannot win. Number one, we're losing already because the DSOs using their buying power are getting better discounts every year. Okay, which means because the insurance company is a business and has to make money, that they pay one group more money over here to make their shareholders happy and make money for them, they got to take money way over here. So they take it from us. So our rates are going down every year. Okay. So we're already losing the race because of that. Also, the pie is getting smaller and smaller. So the number of people actually that have dental insurance is going down dramatically every year.
Hmm.
So, and that was before COVID. What do you think is going to happen with all these businesses that have been financially affected by it, right? And next year, to survive, they need to cut expenses. They need to get some of that revenue back. They're going to be looking to cut something. Well, guess what's a nice low-hanging fruit they could cut that probably nobody would complain about?
Hmm.
Dental insurance.
Yep.
So I think the number of people that even offer dental insurance, the number of companies is going to dramatically disappear. But there's this mindset barrier that's created when somebody doesn't have insurance. They think, well, if I don't have insurance, I can't go unless it hurts or I'm in pain.
Hmm.
Of course, we know that the opposite's true. If they actually came and did their preventative stuff, then they would prevent a lot of issues down the road.
Yeah.
But that's not what people think. Okay. So planting seeds now to our patients with insurance and using this as a vehicle to attract those without insurance is key. Okay. Because that gets them over the mindset barrier. They get the sense that they have insurance. Now they can come. And then once they're committed and they have a mindset that I'm a plan member, well, people who have membership plans spend more people than those that don't.
Hmm.
Spend more than cash patients, and they spend more than insurance patients annually every year. Okay.
Yeah, it's such a mental barrier. I had a patient who's, probably in his 20s, and he said I couldn't go to the dentist because I didn't have insurance. And I finally got it. And the last time I was at a dentist was 6 years ago, and his mouth was a total mess. And I'm thinking he would have saved so much money if he just went, when he didn't have insurance, because now he has insurance, but he's going to end up paying so much more because his problems got so much worse. So it's such a barrier that patients have to get over. Um, So in your book, you mentioned the wine and cheese events, the ice cream socials, to get in front of those potential patients, to be able to market your membership plan. Has that changed now post-COVID? Or not as many wine and cheese events
Yeah,
happening?
no, not as many wine and cheese events. But it's kind of interesting. So there will always be a market for that, even in a time of uncertainty, because COVID and any real global uncertainty creates two mindsets: a risk tolerant mindset and a risk averse mindset in people. So the risk tolerant people are the ones flooding our chairs right now, and have been the ones flooding our chairs ever since we opened the doors back up. Those are the people that were reactive before. They knew things were there, they knew they were going to get worse, but they thought they had time. They were going to get to it, and they thought they could get access to us anytime when their problem blew up in their face. But then when we were shut down for 2 or 3 months, they realized, oh, I can't get in when I want to get in. So it's motivated those risk tolerant folks to start filling our chairs now.
Yeah.
But the risk adverse folks aren't coming in yet. If they
Mm-hmm.
don't feel safe, they don't move. That's their
Yep.
uncertainty. So while the wine and cheese events are down, it's mostly because I'm being respectful of people not wanting to gather. But most of the people in the retirement community have been asking me to come back and do another one. I guarantee you I could fill it. There's
Okay.
enough of that tolerant crowd that don't care, and they want to get out. Like the people that are at the restaurant, the first time the restaurant opens, or the first
Yeah.
ones at the bar. So there's always a market for it. Um, but I've lean more heavily on external marketing of it than
Okay.
strategically going in person.
I just eat wine and cheese by myself, so it didn't really affect me. All right, so thanks so much for Dr. Chris Phelps. Again, the Phelps Institute. If you go to Deals for Dentist, you can find that he's dramatically reduced the cost of all of his online CE. Also, call tracker ROI. Mention Deals for Dentist. Instead of $37 per tracking number, it's reduced to $27. And Golden Goose Scheduling, which is a scheduling service. Mention Deals for Dentists. The setup fee of $297 is waived, and the $297 monthly fee is reduced to $197. Also, it's $45 instead of $55 for patient scheduled, so you're saving $10 for the patient that schedules. So what else do you have in the pipeline? What other, do you have any events coming up, or any new books coming out?
Yeah, I would say mark your calendars for January 23rd. I think that's the Saturday, 2021. Here in Charlotte, I'm doing a strategic planning event. It's the second year I've done this. We had over 100 docs attend last year, but for people who don't really know what coaching or can do for their practice, and what strategic planning can do, and to try to get yourself in a proactive mindset to proactively think about what you need to be doing about your business versus how we normally are being reactive, waiting for a fire to pop up and then dealing with it. I'm giving them a taste on a day. So we're having a strategic planning a day for anybody that wants to attend. Because of COVID, I can't have more than 50 people this year, which kind of sucks. So I'm opening up through live stream, so people can't make the in-person event, they can at least stream it. But I'm going to teach you how to create an action plan, not only how to realistically set your goals for the year, but how to reverse engineer a path to get there, and how to get there fairly quickly and make significant progress every 90 days towards those goals. We're going to go over case acceptance, how to increase case acceptance and influence more people. We're going to talk about how to get more Google reviews, because that's free advertising right now. Okay. And we got to get more of those and influence more people to do that. I'm going to have Travis Campbell, who is quote unquote the practice whisperer, but that guy knows more about dental insurance and how to play that game and maximize it. So for those that come that are in network and are still playing an insurance game, Travis is going to talk to you about all the ways to maximize, get the most out that you possibly can while you're still running that race. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be talking about membership plans for those that want to get out of that, while Travis is talking about insurance. Okay. How to transition out of it so you can drop every in network thing you're in, and it doesn't have to cost your practice to make that transition. Okay. We're going to be talking about teams. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we're covering on that Saturday, and people are going to have a good plan for what to do and how to get back on track for 2021. And because we're in Charlotte, the home of racing, if you come in person on that Friday afternoon, I've scheduled a Ferrari racing experience. So I've got a Ferrari, I've got a Lamborghini, and I got a McLaren. And with a professional driver sitting next to you, you're going to get to race around Charlotte Motor Speedway. So,
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's going to be sweet. So normally I've got some fees on that. I'll send you a link, but if anybody mentions Deals for Dentists, I'll give you an extra $100 off. So,
oh, great. Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome. So any last words of advice or any nuggets for those young dentists out there before we sign off?
Ooh, man. Maintain hope. That's the
Mhm.
big thing, you know. Uh, Typically, I don't know if you're like me, but most entrepreneurs, practice owners are surrounded by negativity, and
Mhm.
that's a shame. Even in an uncertain world, there's plenty of opportunity for everyone to succeed. So I would stay positive. It would be my message. Stay positive, maintain hope, and if the people around you are negative, then you need to find new people because there's
Mhm.
plenty of people that will support you and you can have good conversations with. That instead of every idea you come up with says no, 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 ideas you come up with should be like, oh, very good. Yeah, here's what I think you can do to do that, or here's how I think you can get that done, or should be supportive, right? Versus contrary to that thing. So stay positive, stay hopeful. Even if we go through another shutdown, it's not going to affect us long term. Okay,
Yeah.
there's ways to survive and still thrive. So
Yeah, that's great advice. All right, well, let's be in touch. Thanks for joining us.
thanks, man.
All right, take care.